Hello everyone, my name is Karanveer Kamra and today we will study the basics of the contract law. So let us start with our video. So contract law is governed by the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now, where is the term the contract defined in Indian Contract Act 1872? The contract is defined under section 2 clause H of the Indian Contract Act 1872. Now, if I ask you, what is an act? We have studied this term, Indian Contract Act. Now, the question is, what is an act? So, an act is a law passed by the parliament. We all know that the parliament makes the law. The parliament consists of two houses, Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha. Rajya Sabha is the upper house in the parliament, whereas the Lok Sabha is the lower house in the parliament. So, what happens is, when a bill is introduced in the Lok Sabha, it is passed by the majority of the members of the Lok Sabha. After getting passed by the majority, it goes to the Rajya Sabha. In Rajya Sabha also, when the bill is passed by the majority of the members, it finally goes to the president. When the president gives his assent on the bill, that bill becomes an act, which is the law. And finally, that law is applicable all over India. Let us move to our next slide. Now the question is, when we are discussing about the Contract Act, we have to understand how a contract is formed. What is the step-by-step procedure of a formation of a contract? So always remember the formation of the contract starts from the offer. Offer is कि मैं आपको क्या ऑफर दे रहा हूं. What am I proposing to you? So the offer is made by an offerer, that is the promiser. When that offer, जो प्रस्ताव दिया गया है, that offer is accepted by the other person. The other person who is accepting the offer made by you is known as the promisee. When that offer is accepted by the promisee, it becomes a promise. Now, when the promisee, the other person, gives something in return to you for that promise, something in return to you for the promise is known as the consideration. Now, you have made the promise, the other person has given you the consideration. So we can say that promise plus consideration is equal to agreement. That is, promise and the consideration forms an agreement. Now, the final step of our formation of the contract, that is the chain of the contract, the agreement which has been entered into between you and the other person, it is enforceable by law. When the agreement is enforceable by law, that agreement becomes a contract. So any agreement which is not enforceable by law is not a contract. Now let us study the formation of the contract in a brief manner so that you can remember it easily. Whatever we have learned in our previous slide, can we say that offer plus acceptance is promise? I am making the offer to the other person. The other person has accepted my offer. Therefore, offer plus acceptance is equal to promise. Now, I have made the promise, right? The other person is giving me something in return for that promise. Therefore, promise plus consideration is equal to agreement. Now, any agreement which is enforceable by law, any agreement which is enforceable by law is equal to contract. Therefore, any agreement which is not enforceable by law is not a contract. So, can we conclude that all the contracts are agreements? All the contracts are agreements, but all the agreements are not contracts. We can say this because we have learned that any agreement which is enforceable by law, any agreement which is enforceable by law is a contract. Therefore, all the contracts are agreements. But all the agreements are not contracts because any agreement which is not enforceable by law is not a contract. So I hope I was able to teach you what is the formation of the contract and how, or we can say in what conditions an agreement becomes a contract. There is only one condition, which is the agreement which is enforceable by law is a contract. So thank you so much for today, and we will continue with the videos in our next session. Thank you.